Hello, Stephan here with Liquidity with a video about the German words das Schloss, der Schluss, and schließen, and how these words are related, where they come from, and how to translate them into English, and how to use them in German. And the question, in particular, the question of why those two things both are das Schloss. Where does that come from? Why? Liquidity. So real quick, das Schloss can have two basic meanings, probably more like three really. One is any kind of closing mechanism like a lock. Another one is a castle, a fortress, especially, at least in the original sense, but it can also mean a palace type of castle. So any kind of magnificent residence of somebody who's very powerful and very wealthy, obviously. Der Schluss, that means the end basically, and schließen means to close. So how are these three words related? And yes, they are related. In order to get a better idea of how these three words or multiple words are related and connected to one another, and where this word actually comes from, where the meanings of it come from, let's look at the verb first. That's probably the best way to get some clues. Schließen basically means to close, to secure even, but mostly to close, especially in the modern sense of the word. Its origins go back to at least Middle High German, so schließen in Middle High German would be schließen, very, very similar. In modern German, in the present tense, it conjugates very regularly. It's called a weak verb because it just conjugates very easily, so it's an easy one, if you will, a light one, not a very strong one that makes you work very hard. So here is the conjugation in the present tense: ich schließe, du schließt, sie schließt, and so forth. And in the past tense, in the Präteritum, simple past tense, we get our first clue of where the connection is between schließen and Schloss, because, as you can see, the IE, that long E sound in German, turns into an O. Ich schloss, du schlosst. Ihr schlosst, wir schlossen, ihr schlosst. Sie schlossen. And there you can already see how these words are related. The past participle of schließen is geschlossen. Geschlossen can also be used very much like an adjective, just like in English. So geschlossen means closed, shut, secured even. So for instance, in German we have the term geschlossene Gesellschaft. Geschlossene Gesellschaft is literally a closed society, closed membership, if you will. So an exclusive membership. And here in the English translation, which has a Latin term, a Latin translation, we get our next clue. There are connections between the German word schließen and other Germanic words, such as the English word slot, especially as it is used to describe a bar or bowl to close something, or the Swedish verb sluta, which means to shut or to close. The English noun sluice, which is a locking mechanism as part of a canal system, also is related to that. And that one actually, we're told, comes from the French, which in turn comes from the Latin. So the French word écluse is supposedly where sluice comes from. Écluse comes from the Latin excludere and or exclusa. And you can already see the connections here between that and exclusive society, exclusive membership, geschlossene Gesellschaft. The question is, are these words all going back to a common Indo-European ancestor, or are these Germanic words an early loanword from Latin? That I do not know. If you have an idea about this, or if you have an opinion about this, leave it in the comment section. So let's talk about das Schloss. Das Schloss can either mean a lock or a locking mechanism, not for a canal system. We have a different word for that. We actually have die Schleuse, which is a direct cognate to the English word Schluss. But I don't know if Schleuse comes from the French écluse or from the German schließen. I really don't know. I suspect it comes from the French just because it's a relatively early engineering term, but I'm not sure. In Middle High German, we already have the word Schloss, which is obviously very, very similar to Schloss. The second meaning, or the second and third meaning of Schloss, is an enclosed place, a place that's fortified, a fortress, a secured place, a place where nobody gets in, nobody gets out, unless the people who are in power of the place, who are in charge of the place, allow that to happen. So it could be a fortress, it could be a castle. We also in German have the word Burg, die Burg, it's a feminine word, for a castle. That usually is a smaller fortification in the Middle Ages. Schloss has a little bit of a broader meaning, also a little bit more of a grandiose meaning. So Schloss conjures up an image of a grandiose fortress, something very, very large, something very extraordinary, maybe something of a duke or king or even an emperor. With the evolution of military technology, the development of artillery systems that could easily destroy these kinds of old medieval fortresses, Schlösser, castles that are up on a hill especially, fortresses changed very, very dramatically. So starting in the 16th century, you would have these star-shaped fortification systems, and wealthy, powerful people would move into palaces. They would move into places that were these elaborate places with elaborate gardens. So for instance, Schloss Nymphenburg in Munich, where I'm from originally, is a perfect example. It's like a miniature Versailles castle. So Schloss is also used to refer to any kind of grandiose residence, large-scale residence of a powerful, wealthy person. So that brings us to the last one, and that is Schluss, der Schluss, end. It's obviously related also to all these different words in German, English, and also Scandinavian languages, and probably the Latin. There are different versions of Schluss with different prefixes on it. The first one is der Beschluss, which is decision, and there's a verb version of that, a verb variety of it, and that would be beschließen, to decide, or to agree upon. Der Verschluss is any kind of closing or locking system or mechanism. So for instance, der Drehverschluss, the turning locking mechanism, could be as simple as a thing as a lid on a jar, because you turn it to open it and to close it. Or we also have the word der Reißverschluss, literally the ripping, closing, or opening mechanism, and that would be a zipper, because you rip it open and you rip it close. And we also have a verb that goes with that, verschließen, to close. Der Abschluss means completion of something, especially of any kind of educational or training regimen or track or program. So Abschluss can be translated as diploma, but it's really the completion of something, not just the certificate that you get. And we also have a verb version for that, abschließen, which can mean to lock something, but it can also mean to complete something, to close something off, if you will, close something up, to bring something to completion, if you will, to close things out. And last but not least, there's another word that I would like to share, and this is an adverb, schließlich, which means in the end, finally, in conclusion, sometimes even as a result of something or because of something, kind of following something, or as a result of the completion of something. By the way, if you wonder what this letter is, which we call a sharp S or S set. That is always pronounced like an unvoiced S, like an unvoiced sibilant, and I made a video about that. So check out my other videos. Check out this particular video about it if you want to know more about the sharp S, why it exists and what it does, and yeah, why it exists. Why do we have that? Why do we need to have this extra letter, right? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. Check out my other videos. If you like those too, consider subscribing to my channel. And yep, leave a comment if you have something to comment on or if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.